Yeah. All right. How do you clear this thing?
Not like that.
Turn it off. You know, the thing with getting, I turned 45, and now I'm starting to notice that I need the cheaters, you know, and it's really kind of annoying.
Let's see him.
So, what I'm going to talk about is persistence versus pressure. No, not going to do that. So,
and no guns, right?
The guns out, right? So we'll keep it brief on the account of time. But you know, who remembers what I talked about last time? I'm kind of curious.
Belief windows.
That's right. Very good. So that whole concept of being aware of it was kind of what I challenged everybody in the room to do. Just kind of be aware of that belief window. And it kind of leads into the thing that I want to talk about today, which is timeline and emotional timeline. So there's really 3 emotional timelines that you can be in. Anybody want to guess what they might be? That's right. Past, future, present. So what ends up happening is you take your present moments, which are right now, and if you're not focused on what you're doing right now, you're in one of those other 2 timelines. Like right now, if you're listening to me specifically, you're present. But what happens during presentations, you start thinking about what I have to do later, what I have to do next week, and then something comes up and triggers you, and you start thinking about something that happened in the past. And so when we start leaving present moment and go to one of those other 2 states, there's a couple of reasons for it. You get a psychological payoff for doing that. And when we go into the past, you know, it's usually worry. And that's not worry, guilt, I should say. The future is worry. So when we're in a past emotional timeline, we have guilt over something we said, over something we should have said, over something we did, over something that we should have done. And you get into that guilt kind of phase, and then what happens is it becomes immobilizing. You know, you don't take action because you're reliving the experience. And that's the problem, is you start to, when you get in that space, you actually start reliving those negative emotions when you're in that futile state of the past and feeling guilty. The reason we do it is society tells you that you should feel guilty, right? You know, if you cared about me, if you loved me and you did that, then you should feel bad. So that's why we start to have that feelings that come up with it. And then the other one is future, which is worry, and worrying about this is going to happen or that's going to happen, or, you know, will I have the courage to do this? And you start about worrying about all these things. And the same thing, society says, if you cared about me, you would worry. I should worry about how am I going to afford to pay for my kids' education. So you start to get these messages. But what happens is you leave the present moment and you don't take action. And the worry in the future is actually one of the most ironic ones. The most crippling is probably the past and feeling guilty. But the future one is, well, I'm worrying about this. And the solution, I have a solution to both of these things. The solution for the future, trading your present moments for worrying about the future, is to take action. If you don't, what you actually worried about starts to come true because you didn't take any action in your present moments. And it causes a mobilization. And that's what you said earlier to Dennis. Like, you're doing everything that I'm thinking about and worrying about, and then you start worrying, well, how am I going to, I could hear your voice saying, well, how do I afford that? And how do I, so you have all this worry, and 3 years goes by, and I'm guilty of it, and I didn't do anything. I look at notes from these kinds of meetings, and I'm like, shit, it is the same thing I was worrying about 3 years ago, and I'm no further along. So it's crazy. So in the conference room the other day, I did the timeline thing, and so those that saw it the other day, you got to see it again. Danielle's laughing. And we've all seen it, you know, the senior people have seen it, but I actually have this in my, if you come over to my house and you're snooping in medicine cabinets, you know how people do, right? You come to my house. So if you come to my house on the main floor in the bathroom, if you open up our little door looking for what medications we're taking, you'll see this. I have it actually posted there. And so everybody take out a little piece of paper, maybe the QB one, and do little tick marks. This is good to see. And so the first one is 0, your age when you're born. And the one over here is, when are you going to die? Take your best guess.
94.
Age 94, he says, I'm going to use myself because I'm self-centered to the extreme. So we'll use 90 as my end zone. And then whatever your numbers is, I don't care. You draw the line from here to there. And then the part that is really annoying is you put today where you are, for me, is 45, right? So when you think about it conceptually, that worry piece, any moment, I told you what the solution to, I keep confusing the words. Worry is the future. What's the solution to worrying? Getting rid of that, trading current, present moments for worrying about the future. What's the solution?
Action.
Action. Take action. For the past, it's guilty feelings, but the issue is all this is gone over, can't do anything about it. No matter how hard I try, I can't change one iota. The problem is we get stuck in those feelings, which doesn't allow us to come up with a solution, which is to gain knowledge and learn a lesson. That's all you can do with the past. And it goes back into that belief window and challenging that. Why do I think this way? So that's how you say, wait a minute, I'm going to stop the emotional train that I'm in this guilt phase, and I'm going to switch it to what did I learn from the experience and what can I do going forward. Now, as far as this goes, you have to then take a look and say, okay, what are my working years left? And if it's 65, it'd be somewhere right about here. So this is the future of my working years, if you're actively really kind of working years. So this window is really kind of small for Rick. It's right here. Sorry, Rick. What are you gonna do? And Chuck's out. I don't know what Chuck's there. We know where Chuck is. So the future is actually like creating a pizza, and we create this. So if I want to make a pizza, the pizza's not here. We can't eat the pizza right now. It's in the future. But I have to go to the market, and I never really use that word, but here I just did. You have to go to the store. I'm getting older, starting to use market. You have to go to the store, right? And as you're going through the store, say, I'm going to get this and put it in the cart. I'm going to get the pizza. I'm going to get, pepperoni might be nice. No, maybe I'm getting older, cholesterol. Maybe I'll put that back. I'll get the mushrooms and the green pepper. Right? And then all of a sudden, you take that home. You go and you mix it all up and you put it in the oven, and then 20 minutes later you take it out and then you have your pizza. So the pizza, which is in the future, actually gets created now by the action. And so that's exactly what you were kind of struggling with is, what do I create with the future? Now, when I first did this, by the way, and this is a movie thing, and it's funny listening to Chuck, I was talking to Danielle, right? So she's got all this kind of window that she can do something with. When I first did it, I was 40, and so I did 80. Now I'm 45, so I really want it to be 90. When I'm 50 in 5 short years, I don't think 100 is kind of realistic, So I don't, there's going to be a point where you can't kick this out anymore. So this window, while I maintained its integrity, only because I changed this, is not really the way life works. And I was struck by, and this is what you'll see if you open up my door. It's a laminated piece of plastic, and it has this on here, and it's a little quote by Ben Franklin that says, "Does thou love life? Then do not waste time, for that is what life is made of." And there's a picture of my father's headstone on top. Because I started to think when I did this, if my dad had done this at age 45, right? He unfortunately would have had to have written in the date of his death at age 51, because that's when he died. So when I look at it, I have two choices. I can spend my time living in the past, feeling guilty about what I coulda, shoulda, woulda, or I can spend my time worrying about the future that 98% of everything we worry about is out of my control anyway, like who's going to get elected next election cycle, right? Or whatever. Or I can spend my time in present moments and say, I'm going to learn a lesson, not repeat that, rock hasn't moved, let's not trip over it again, not feel guilty that I tripped over it. Even if I tripped over it 4 times, stop worrying about it. Stop feeling guilty over that stupidity. Learn a lesson and walk around. And start to create my future. So that's really what we have the power to do. Choose what we want to do. The end.
Good job, Sean.